Thank you. Well done. Thanks, you guys. Much appreciated. Wow. All right. Thanks to you at home as well for joining us this hour. You can't leave either. I'm very happy to have you here. Have you met the new political leadership in this country? The people who may not have the title, may not have the, plate on the office door or whatever, but these are the people who are actually getting it done. We found them in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
And I turned 65 on Sunday, and I just made a decision. I woke up this morning and said, I got to do something.
In Grand Rapids Wednesday afternoon, around 24 people gathered in front of the Social Security Administration office on Knapp Street and East Beltline.
Trying to bring attention to what's going on and also supporting the people that are working in there, saying, we appreciate you.
The crowd, mostly retirees and Social Security recipients, they protested against recent moves by the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, many of them feeling that access to Social Security benefits and Medicare could be at risk.
Well, I am a retiree. I worked for 50 years in all different trades of working, and I paid into my Social Security benefits all those years.
Those protesting tell us they are against the Trump administration's moves to close dozens of SSA field offices across the country, along with eliminating over-the-phone ID verification starting at the end of this month, requiring people to verify their IDs online only or in person.
Let's say you're elderly and you have no way of coming physically to an office that's still open, or if you live in a rural area. I mean, it's just ridiculous. They're trying to make it so difficult for people to get their own money back.
Those protesting also wanting to show support to federal employees, many saying they have been helped by staff at this very location.
And I just want them to know we are here to support them for their jobs.
The new political leadership of this country, the people actually getting it done. You saw them there in Grand Rapids, Michigan yesterday afternoon. We also found them on the side of the road in Reno, Nevada.
About 24 protesters gathered outside the Social Security office in Reno at noon. They carried signs critical of the Department of Government Efficiency, or held signs which expressed their concern about the future of Social Security. Marilyn Sho has depended upon Social Security for her disabled son, and she says she soon wants to start collecting her benefits. Benefits she reminds everyone she paid for.
It's an insurance, and we've paid into this. We've paid into Social Security I've worked since I've been 15. And so gutting it and making it, privatizing it, that is not the answer.
Many seniors live paycheck to paycheck, and our Social Security only comes in once a month. If they don't have that check, that money in their account, that means they don't get to pay their rent, they don't get to buy food, and they don't get to pay their utilities. There would be more people out in the street.
Plenty of car horns honked as drivers passed by the protest. But as one woman told me today, better to shine a light than curse the darkness.
The new political leadership of this country. That was the Reno, Nevada division. These are the people who are actually getting it done, and they're everywhere. We also found them in Livonia, Michigan.
A rally in Livonia Tuesday bringing out dozens of seniors concerned about Social Security and Medicare.
I'm terrified. My life would change drastically without Social Security, and that's our money. We put that in. Nobody gave us that money. We loaned it to the government.
Everything that is happening right now is impacting so many people.
That's the new political leadership of this country showing up in Livonia, Michigan. We also found them in Nashville, Tennessee.
Protesters are pushing back tonight against possible staffing cuts at the Nashville Social Security office. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Lauren Lowry. Dozens of people rallied outside the office today. Our Sharon Dankwa has a look at why they say cuts could directly affect them here in the mid-state.
No closures, no cuts, protect SSA.
Today, we're gathered here not just as individuals, but as a community of people who understand the vital role that Social Security plays in so many lives.
Resources provided in this building, Jennifer Brinkman says so many could be taken for granted.
I know firsthand essential these offices are, especially this office right here. When my significant other, Greg, was diagnosed with cancer and could no longer work, we turned to this office for help.
So when she heard the Department of Government Efficiency could cut Social Security staffing nationwide by 50%, she organized this rally.
That was Nashville, Tennessee. You might remember last week we also found the new political leadership class in this country holding a political funeral for Social Security at the Social Security office in Gainesville, Georgia. They focused on their local Republican congressman there. His name is Andrew Clyde. Clyde lies as Social Security dies. Clyde dozes while Social Security closes. We've also found the new political leadership of this country fanning out to town halls, in-person town halls, online town halls, teletown halls, anywhere and anyhow they can get themselves in front of elected Republicans who are letting Trump take Social Security apart.
So the question was about Social Security, and what she's accusing me of is standing by while it is being dismantled by DOGE. That is absolutely 100% untrue. Absolutely 100% untrue. DOGE is not dismantling Social Security.
I really want to know from you, will you protect Social Security in its current form?
Next question, what are your plans to cut Social Security?
I want to be this is a very easy question for me to answer. Any changes to Social Security are not on the table, and I will not cut your Social Security. It is a promise between you and the federal government.
Our next question is from Polly from a 288 zip code area. What are you doing to ensure the protection of our Social Security benefits?
Yeah. Good question. Good question. This is regular Americans just pulling it together on their own to save Social Security. That woman in Grand Rapids, Michigan yesterday saying, I woke up this morning and said, I got to do something. And by afternoon, there she was. And Americans all over the country are waking up every day somewhere having that same feeling. And that political leadership from regular Americans is now starting to push over the right dominoes. We are starting to see, for example, stirrings from big, powerful groups that at least used to have a lot of sway on issues like this, groups like AARP.
AARP is fighting to protect your Social Security. You've worked hard and paid into Social Security with every paycheck your entire working life. But recently, we've heard from thousands of worried Americans. That's why we're asking for 3 assurances right now. 1, Social Security will make payments on time like it has for almost 90 years. 2, claims will be processed on time and not backlogged for months. 3, customer service will be a top priority. Getting rid of phone service and asking tens of millions of Americans to jump through new hoops or drive hours to a local office is deeply unacceptable. Join me in sending a loud and clear message to lawmakers. Social Security must be protected. Take action now at aarp.org/pledge. Tell lawmakers it's your money, you've earned it.
Hear her say there at the beginning, recently we've heard from thousands of worried Americans. Hello, AARP. Honestly, by now, I thought you'd have like armored divisions outside the offices of every Social Security office in the country. I thought you would be blanketing the nation with super effective ads and hounding every member of the administration every day up to and including the president. It's kind of what I have come to expect from AARP. We are not seeing anything like that yet from AARP, but they are admitting that thousands of their own members are contacting them now, and they are showing signs of life. And when you combine that with the real political leadership that we are seeing from regular Americans who just wake up one morning and say, I've got to do something, and then they go do something, well, you know what? It works. It has an impact. It pushes over one domino that then pushes down another. For example, we had Trump's Social Security nominee have his desultory little confirmation hearing this week in the United States Senate. But at that hearing, you had Republicans asking, hey, wait, how many Social Security offices are you closing in my state? My constituents are telling me that Social Security service is collapsing. And look, I had my staff confirm it. After Trump fired all these people at Social Security, turns out it now takes hours to get through on the phone. And then even when you've waited on the phone for hours, you get cut off anyway. Hey, Social Security nominee from the Trump administration, what's going on here? You got that this week, even from Republican senators. You have the top Republicans in the Senate who supposedly oversee Social Security, who until now have been totally silent as Trump has been firing thousands of people from the agency, as his top campaign donor has been given access to all the most sensitive systems at the agency, while he publicly calls it a Ponzi scheme that must be shut down. As the service has started to palpably collapse, they have been silent and have been doing nothing. But now you've got them having to admit to reporters and whining a little bit about it that maybe they should be in on some of this stuff. For NBC News, quote, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley, the chairman of a key Senate subcommittee on Social Security, said he had not been told ahead of time about the Trump administration's moves at the agency. Quote, no, I have not been, Grassley told NBC News. Asked if it would be helpful to his job if he were given a heads up, Grassley repeated, I have not been. I have not been. Republican Senator Steve Daines, a Senate Finance Committee member, said in an interview that he, too, hasn't been in the loop for the Trump administration's changes. Quote, no, we haven't, he said. Quote, I haven't had any heads up. Senator Daines said that he would appreciate advance notice about the changes the administration makes to Social Security. He said, quote, I'd like to know about it, yeah. Well, that's something. I'd like to know about it. So those are the people in Washington, but it is the leaders of this country. I see you, plucky retirees in knitted hats on the side of the road in Reno. I see you. After the real leaders of this country, after you guys took the wheel, it has started something. And so now, yes, if you are applying for Medicare or disability or SSI benefits through Social Security, they're no longer planning to mandate that you have to go in person to your local Social Security office, that they're probably closing anyway and or firing most of the staff. And no, they are no longer killing the 1-800 line altogether, which they had previously been planning on doing. And no, they are not forcing through this verify your identity in person change that they were going to force through as of Monday, which would have forced immediately millions of people, millions of older and disabled people to have to go to these offices in person, and they've apparently done no training for it at all. And oh, by the way, the new system they said they want to put in place doesn't exist. But now they're not going to implement that on Monday. They need a little more time. In no sense has Social Security been saved. This fight is absolutely on. But it is regular Americans who have been fighting against Trump all over the country. Yes, in Washington, but honestly, all over the country. And that's what's made the difference. It is working. It is making a difference. And there is more to do, but it is working. And look, here's another view of America's political and moral leadership at work. This is the protest that sprung up spontaneously and basically instantly yesterday afternoon in Somerville, Massachusetts. Instantly, thousands of people gathered on no notice in the immediate aftermath of a Tufts University student with a valid student visa, a Fulbright scholar PhD candidate with no criminal record who'd had no notice from the government that they believed she had done anything wrong. She was nevertheless accosted and snatched off the street by a half-dozen federal agents who were covering their faces, who then handcuffed her and stuffed her into an unmarked car. Donald Trump is now claiming the right to do this to anyone. He is making the truly authoritarian claim that if you express an opinion that Donald Trump doesn't like, this is what will happen to you. In this case, it was a student writing an op-ed criticizing the war in the Middle East. The Trump administration says that alone is the justification for revoking her student visa, which is insane. But even if signing an op-ed were grounds to revoke this young woman's visa, they could just tell her they were revoking her visa, tell her that she therefore needs to leave the country. Instead, they didn't tell her anything. They just sent masked goons to jump her on the street and throw her in an unmarked car and take her away. And that will now be litigated. But the kids at Tufts University and the community there just erupted yesterday. Spontaneously, thousands of people turned out to respond in person. That was yesterday. And then this is Somerville again tonight.
Developments in the case of the Tufts University student who was suddenly detained by ICE agents near her home in Somerville.
We now know why she was able to be transferred to a Louisiana detention center despite a court order to keep her here in Massachusetts. A court filing by the U.S. Attorney's Office says she had already been moved out of the state by the time that order was issued. NBC 10's Jericho Tran joining us live from Somerville, where some of her supporters gathered tonight. Jericho?
Well, there's hundreds here today, and I can tell you we are witnessing some very tense moments here outside of Somerville City Hall. There's a city council meeting that's going on right now, and you can see that these hundreds of protesters are trying to make their way inside. Police have stopped them. It looks like there's some sort of fire code violation. Once again, there are hundreds of people here. It doesn't look like all of them will be able to fit inside of the building. Of course, all of this happening after Rumeysa Ozturk's arrest here in Somerville.
On Tuesday, federal agents arrested Tufts University student Rumeysa Ozturk just steps away from the university. Ozturk now waits inside the South Louisiana ICE Processing Center, which houses immigrants waiting for legal proceedings or deportations.
You see it on TV, but when it hits home, it's a mile away from you, and the terror in her face and her voice, it's terrible.
The PhD student and Fulbright scholar maintained a valid F1 visa status. Now that visa has been terminated. The Department of Homeland Security claims Ozturk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying the graduate student's presence in the U.S. could have, quote, potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences and would compromise a compelling U.S. foreign policy interest.
Oh, we revoked her visa.
Ozturk wrote an op-ed for the university's paper calling for Tufts to divest from companies directly tied to Israel.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa.
On Tuesday night, a U.S. District Court judge issued an order blocking the Trump administration from removing Ozturk from the state of Massachusetts without 48 hours notice. The U.S. Attorney's Office suggests that Ozturk may have been moved before the court's involvement, offering to provide a timeline of Ozturk's arrest and transfer from Massachusetts.
Our neighborhoods are not safe, right? The people around us aren't safe.
And you can hear those chants live right now. They're asking police to let them in once again. You can see them kind of barricading the doors. They have let some of these ralliers in, but it doesn't look like they're letting everybody in right now. This is one of several protests. We were at a protest yesterday. We were at two of them today. This is one of them. That city council meeting here in Somerville is happening as we speak. We'll have more on that for you later. That's the very latest here in Somerville. Jericho Tran, NBC 10 Boston.
That's happening tonight in Massachusetts. Also in Massachusetts at Harvard University, we've just got word that Trump has apparently also grabbed a Russian scientist, a young woman who works at Harvard Medical School. She had been forced to leave Russia because she spoke out and criticized Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Now Trump has had her arrested in the United States, has had her locked up in an ICE detention facility in Louisiana, and is threatening to ship her back to Russia. Again, a Harvard Medical School scientist. A GoFundMe has been started to help her legal defense. At the University of Alabama, it is a mechanical engineering doctoral student who has been taken. He's Iranian. In this case, nobody seems to know why he has been taken. They've reportedly got him in a county jail in Alabama right now. But again, we don't know why. College Democrats at the University of Alabama are protesting his arrest. There's also a GoFundMe that's been set up to help his legal defense as well. Now, how does the American people like all of this? How does the American population feel about how things are turning out with Donald Trump being back in the White House, given that this is sort of the daily news now?
Duck Walk by Ariel Williams. Henrietta Wilkins rushes to church one Sunday morning, accidentally leaving her gate open. Her duck, Duckwaisha, seizes the chance to take her 5 ducklings to the local pond. Along the way, the ducklings fall into a manhole, causing a town-wide rescue effort. After a frantic search, Duckwaisha finds her ducklings safely swimming in the pond, and the heartwarming story makes local news. Meanwhile, Henrietta realizes her mistake and panics, but the firemen reunite her with Duckwaisha and her ducklings, bringing a happy ending to their adventure.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
A Dying Planet, The Last Harvest.
In the year 2060, Earth is a shadow of its former self, choked by pollution, endless concrete, and abandoned by nature. Only a small fishing village by the sea has managed to preserve the planet's last untouched forest. In this dying world, June and Win, 2 young girls and the last children in their village, cling to the remnants of hope and innocence. Win roams the forest, collecting the season's last harvest, while June sings songs that echo with a haunting beauty through the village.
For more, click Linktree in profile.
The Park of Secrets.
In the year 2060, near the heart of Florida, just a stone's throw from Disney World, stood a theme park unlike any other, a place known as the House of Secrets. It was a magical park, much like a state fair, filled with towering rides, carnival games, and parades that drew people from all over the world. But among the grand Ferris wheel and the colorful day parade, there was one attraction that outshined them all, the Parade Princess, a mesmerizing mermaid named Kenya. Kenya was a sight to behold. At 22 years old, fresh out of college, she had the kind of beauty that drew people to her like moths to a flame. Her brown skin glowed under the park lights, her hair a stunning mix of purple and pink that cascaded over her shoulders. Little pink hearts adorned her cheeks, and a ribbon of color stretched across her nose. But it wasn't just her beauty that made her special. Her eyes, big and almond-shaped, seemed to capture the hearts of everyone who saw her.
For more, click Tree link in profile.
The Future, Daughters of Liberty, A New Dawn. In 2040, the United States was a fractured nation, still reeling from the fallout of Project 2025. The catastrophic policy that had allowed a resurgence of systemic oppression. The Deep South had seceded once more, forming the antebellum republic, where human trafficking, racial inequality, and gender oppression became tragically normalized. The Second Civil War erupted as the rest of the nation sought to free those trapped in this dystopian regime. After years of bloodshed, Kamala Harris had finally led the Union to victory, restoring a fragile sense of hope. But the battle scars ran deep, especially in places like Louisiana, where the remnants of a broken society still lingered.
For more, click Tree link in bio.
Sable's Song, A Siren's Journey to Joy. Once upon a time, in a small, worn-out town in Middle America, there lived a little child named Sable. Worn into poverty, Sable's body was frail, so thin that you could see her bones, but her heart was filled with an exuberance that not even hunger could dull. Sable was awkward, with dark, deep-set eyes that sparkled with innocence and wonder. Despite being born a boy, Sable always knew she was different. Inside her lived a girl, bright and effervescent, waiting to bloom.
For more, click Tree link in profile.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.